ReZero is dark. So much so that it surprised me with just how unapologetically brutal it was, especially with some of the stuff that happens in the later arcs. And because of ReZero's inherently dark nature, plus a very worrying answer from Tappei Nagatsuki in a Q&A, many people have been understandably led to believe that ReZero's ending may be dark or depressing, that it will have a bad ending. But I can guarantee that that's not gonna happen, because if it did happen, it wouldn't just be disappointing, it'd be a slap in the face to everything that's happened up until this point. ReZero needs a happy ending, and one of the biggest reasons I say this is because of a certain episode. Yeah, you know the one. Spoilers for the first 2 seasons, obviously. This episode completely changed my perspective on Subaru. Before this episode, I thought he was a mostly fine protagonist who was honestly kind of annoying at times and wasn't really that relatable. I thought he was nothing like me, that there was no way I'd do any of the things that he did. But to be honest, I'd probably do worse. But then this episode hit me like a truck. Just like every other isekai protagonist. But in all seriousness, Subaru wasn't just being an idiot for the sake of being an idiot. Throughout his entire life, he's been weighed down by the expectations he's been putting on himself, believing that he had to be amazing at everything just like his father was. And as soon as he started falling behind and not being as good at the things that he used to be good at anymore, he tries to be funny instead, and ends up doing outrageous and stupid things just so that he could make his mark, make other people want to be with him and think that they couldn't have a good time without him. But in the end, nobody's there anymore, and he realizes that his relationship with them was all superficial. Going to high school only worsens this problem. He tries again with a fresh start, trying to be funny again and failing, and as time goes by, he starts going to school less and less, until eventually he just stops going altogether. Subaru hates himself. And while this is something that you could figure out before in season 1, it's explored in so much more depth here, and we realize why he hates himself. It gives so much more meaning to his actions throughout season 1, that changed him from some idiot who thinks that he's funny and doesn't learn from his mistakes, to someone who's trying his best to be good enough and can't. It's heartbreaking. He believes that nobody truly likes him for who he is, and that he's trash that doesn't deserve anything or anyone, that he should be the only one who has to suffer because he deserves it. And after learning this, I realized maybe he wasn't really that different from me after all. It's kinda scary how relatable this episode was. Notice how throughout a lot of the show he acts outgoing and fun, but throughout this episode he's quiet and withdrawn. It makes me wonder whether I'd do the same things that he did if I was placed in the same situations. Wouldn't I also be excited to have a fresh start? Wouldn't I also be crushed when I realized that nothing has truly changed? Throughout the entire show, Subaru struggles with this. But this isn't where it ends. He grows. In almost every arc, Subaru goes through so much character development, from learning to act more trustworthy as a person, to truly considering how other people feel and learning to understand them, to realizing that other people do care about him, to learn to value his own life just as much as he values everyone else's. The people around Subaru do care about him, and when he gets hurt, they get hurt as well. Beforehand, whenever he was confronted with one of the 7 deadly sins, he had to make a choice to reject it, like with sloth. But this time, it's kind of the opposite, and he makes a choice to be a little bit more greedy, or in other words, to love himself just as much as he loves everyone around him. Subaru changes so much and makes so much progress throughout all of ReZero, and to have a dark and depressing ending is to get all that progress and flush it down the toilet. Seriously, imagine Subaru going through all that just to permanently die at the end. What would be the point of the story then? Like, 90% of ReZero has been almost entirely focused on Subaru and his character development. If there was an ending where characters were dying or suffering, it would negate the point of everything, and I mean everything, that's happened up until this point. This is literally what all the if side stories are for, to show an alternate reality where Subaru made the wrong choice and there is a dark ending. But the purpose of these if stories are to give contrast to the real story so that when Subaru makes the right decisions, we can appreciate it. Yes, ReZero has dark moments, but the reason those dark moments are there aren't just to make the characters suffer. They exist to push them, to challenge them and give them an obstacle to overcome, so that when they overcome it, it shows just how much they've truly changed. Notice that pretty much every arc in ReZero follows the same pattern. Subaru's flaw is established at the beginning, and because of that flaw, he suffers a lot. Throughout most most of the first half, he clings to this flaw and things get darker and darker. And at the midpoint, he is at his lowest point. Nothing he's doing seems to be working, and he feels like he has nothing left. But then, sometimes thanks to a motivational speech from another character, he realizes he can't give up, and he decides to change. After this, the second half becomes much lighter in tone, and when it comes to the obstacles that he struggled so much to overcome before, Subaru is now able to solve those problems, sometimes easily. In the end, Subaru completes his character arc, and the problems presented in that arc have now been resolved. And the ending for all these arcs is always a happy one. Unless there's a cliffhanger or something, but you can see my point. No matter how much suffering the characters go through, ReZero isn't about suffering, because no matter how dark it gets, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. No matter how much pain and suffering the characters go through, they always get through it in the end. And to have a bad ending would be to go against that and ruin the story. My name is Brandon Riley, and that is why ReZero needs a happy ending. Thanks for watching.